Hey everybody, I hope you are doing wonderfully today. Thank you for joining me here. I want to focus this video on, frankly, an area that I am pretty terrible with. And that is how to keep your sanity during a major career transition. The reason I say that is because, like many of the people that I work with, being goal-directed is not a problem for me. I can get super excited about the future or this thing that I want. I can jump into it with both feet and really commit to it. But where I struggle with is finding that balance. And where I definitely struggle with is self-care, especially with regards to my mind. And in a lot of times, that has tripped me up because I'll go into a situation, expecting that it's going to be a sprint type situation. Like I just need to, burn the candle at both ends right now in every way that I can, and then I'm going to be fine. And the situation will turn into a marathon, and I'll realize that I can't keep doing it that way, right? And then I start getting upset that I'm not making the progress that I'm looking for. I start berating myself, and there's a whole kind of negative zone that's created there. Well, it happens a lot too if you're looking for a new job, or if you're looking to switch industries, right? Or if you're looking to re-enter the workforce after a long period of time. Of course, a sprint situation would be great. It would be wonderful to send one email to one person that we know, that person hooks us up with a role, and then we're done, right? But even though that might happen, we need to prepare ourselves for the fact that it may be a longer haul than we're expecting. And if that happens, right, and we are being challenged in that way, how do we take care of ourselves? How do we make sure that we are healthy, in our mind, and that we're not letting the roller coaster that can often accompany a big career change, we're not letting that get in the way. It's not a secret, by the way, that or an accident that most people never find the courage within themselves to make that kind of a big career move or to really powerfully advocate for themselves, because it's scary, and no matter what we may feel about it, we're in safe harbor relatively, right? And we don't want to lose that. And when you go out there and you say, yes, I want more, you're entering the ocean, right? And so we need to be prepared. So what are some things that we can do to just make sure that we're going to reach the other end, or that other shore, or that other port, whatever maritime metaphor I can use here, in one piece and in a good way? Because it's not gonna be great for us to reach our goal and then have a nervous breakdown on the other side, right? So here's some tips. I don't see these being shared in any other way, shape, or form. I found them to be critically important, and largely enough, many of these tips have been based on mistakes. So I've learned this by doing the exact opposite of that. So here we go. Tip number one: be sure to take the time to debrief from your last role. It's a big mistake people make is, maybe they get fired, or maybe they had a horrible relationship with their boss, or maybe their role was terminated, and rather than taking even a modicum of time to process that and come to grips with it, we just run right into it, right? We just sort of say, oh, forget it. I'm just going into the next thing. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think about it. That's the past. We're going to move on. I've done that, and what I've found is you're not avoiding the pain by doing that. What you're doing is you're putting the pain on a credit card that you are not paying, and the interest is going to accrue and accrue and accrue, and eventually you will face it, but it's not going to be on your terms. Let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, I had a novel that was picked up and published with great fanfare. I was for sure that, oh, this is it. It's smooth sailing right now. I'm never going to have to work another day in my life. It's all good. And it didn't turn out that way. And rather than looking at that situation and just taking a second to say, oh, I'm really disappointed that didn't work out. I was really hoping that was going to work. Instead of taking the time to grieve a little bit, if you will, I just jumped into it, to the next thing. And I said, forget it. That's done, over and done with. Let's go. Let's grow. Let's build the business. Let's make it happen. And what happened is that two years after that situation, I found myself in tears talking with my wife, Erin. And I realized that I hadn't ignored it. I hadn't pushed it out of my mind. I'd actually been berating myself for all of those years, I'd been berating myself for the failure of that. How could you be so stupid, How could you have failed in that way? How could you have been so blind, And when you don't take the time to process a bad thing that happened in your career, regardless of what you think you're doing, this bears absolutely true for the strongest willed amongst you. No matter how strong you feel your will is, you haven't gotten over it. Okay? What you're doing is you're just beating yourself up over it over and over and over again, and that will come and bite you. Okay, afterwards. So don't do that, even if it's taking a day, even if it's taking a couple of days to sit down with your spouse or someone that you love, right? Or someone that you trust, or just yourself, and you just sit down and you just write down the things that you weren't happy with and the way that things ended. Just take some time to consciously process what happened in that last one so that you can move on. Again, one more tip about that is if you don't take that time, then when you're going to be pushed in an interview and questioned about your last role, do you know how easy it's going to be for people to pick up on the fact that you're not over this? We think that we're geniuses, but we're not, You're going to show that, and that does not look good. That's a warning sign for employers, right? So take the time to debrief from what happened at your last role, especially if it was a bad ending, and come to terms with it, even if it's an unpleasant sensation. Second tip. Draw a clear line of separation between your career aspirations and your home life. This is very, very important, okay? It's going to be very tempting if you're doing a search to think of it from a point of view of, hey, I can do this at home, and then I can just hang out with the kids. I can hang out with my wife or my husband, and it's all great. That's making it sound like this journey is all going to be an up, and it's not, okay? You're going to have plans that fall through. You're going to have people who disappoint you. You're going to have offers that were supposed to come that don't. You're going to have a lot of disappointments and twists and turns along the road, and if you don't have a clear line of separation between what you're doing on that front and your family life, then your family life is going to bear the brunt of that. Okay? Every negative thing, what you're doing is you're basically saying, I'm not bearing it myself, my kids are bearing it, my wife and my husband are bearing it. Trust me on that, because I've made that mistake, and that's exactly what happens. So even if it means doing some of this work at a Starbucks, even if it means doing something as simple as, and this is what I'll do, on a day that I'm working from home, before I wrap up for the day, I'll put on my jacket or whatever it is, and go out onto the street where we live, and literally just spend 5 to 10 minutes just walking up and down, maybe smoking a cigar, having some coffee, whatever it is. And that physical break, even though it's not a long period of time, really helps me just get into a different mode. And that separation has to be there, because no matter how important this can't take over every aspect of your life, okay? This is something you need to make happen successfully in one area, but it is one area. It's not everything. That might sound anathema for a career coach to say, but I do this for balance and success, in all of my life. And you're not going to get that if it's bleeding over all, into unrelated parts. Tip number 3, do at least one thing a day that activates nothing in the analytical side of your brain. A job search, changing careers, whatever it is that you're trying to do. That's all up here. You're trying to make good decisions. You're trying not to make a mistake. You don't want that to be the be all and the end all of your day. Even if it's taking a bike ride, or as I used to do, a couple of months ago, I was building this huge all-encompassing career program. It's called my Upgrade Your Career program. And I was routinely pulling 12-hour days plus. I didn't have time for a leisurely workout, right? So I would just put on some music and just have a 5-minute dance party, something physical to get you out of that mode, and also remind yourself and your mind and your body that, hey, this is a game, okay? This is not my life, you know what I mean? It's I can win this, and this is just a part of who I am. It's not everything. Finally, point number 4, think about embracing this whole period of time in your life as an overall period of change versus just one where your career is changing rapidly. If you're someone who likes routine, if you're someone who likes order, you're going to be upset sometimes by aggressively pursuing new opportunities, because there's a lot of chaos there. We can never plan for everything and everyone that we're going to run into. And so it's very, very important, okay, to think about, hey, if I'm challenging myself in so many areas on the career front, maybe I'll just look at the next couple of months here as an overall period of growth and change, right? So read new things, watch new movies, watch new TV shows, have new shared experiences with your family, right? Push yourself. Have some weird random experiences, even if it's something as small as trying that restaurant that you were always freaked out by. Embrace this whole time as a period where you are growing as a human being, not just growing in your career. And that can help, because you don't want, especially if you're someone who likes routine, you don't want the job search or the career development side to be the only thing that's changing. It may not be the right solution for you because if you like routine, it could end up being that you dread doing stuff there because it's so chaotic, and you don't really know what's going to happen next. And so if you can embrace it on a larger sense, sometimes it can make everything, including developing your career and advancing it, that much easier. Thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope those tips have been helpful to you. Just to quickly recap them. Tip number 1, take the time to debrief from your last experience, and yes, grieve if necessary. Tip number 2, draw a clear line of separation between what you're doing on the job search and career front and your home life. Don't mix and match those two. Tip number 3, do at least one thing a day that does nothing to activate the analytical side of your brain. And tip number 4, think about embracing this whole time in your life as an overall period of change. Thank you guys so much. Follow me, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, let me know what's been working for you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.